Most people believe the world is fair. Work hard, be good, and eventually you will win. But look closer. The hardest workers are often the most exhausted. The kindest people are often the most betrayed. The honest ones are the easiest to manipulate, because the world does not reward goodness. It rewards leverage. Power does not care about your intentions. It only respects your position in the game. The world is full of good intentions, buried intentions. Dreams of people who played by the rules, people who waited, people who hoped someone would notice them. But hope is not a strategy, and morality is not armor. The world is a graveyard of people who believed fairness would save them. Most people are not losing. They are simply playing the wrong game. They think life is checkers. Simpler, honest, predictable. But the real game is something else. Strategy, perception, power. And the players who understand this are the ones who quietly control the board. 500 years ago, a man looked at humanity without illusions. Niccolò Machiavelli. He did not describe the world as it should be. He described it as it is. Fear, greed, ambition, envy, the hidden engines behind human behavior. Once you see them, you begin to understand why some people rise while others disappear. Thinking like a prince is not about becoming evil. That is a childish idea. It is about becoming effective. It is about understanding human nature without pretending it is pure. The prince does not hate human flaws. He studies them. He learns where the levers are. And once you see the machinery of power, you stop being the pawn. But there is a price for this clarity. Once you see the strings, you cannot unsee them. Every smile will look different. Every handshake will carry meaning. Every alliance will reveal calculation. The illusion disappears. And in its place you gain something far more dangerous. Understanding. The first transformation is painful, because the first thing that must die is the idealist inside you. The part of you that still believes people should be fair. That loyalty should be rewarded. That honesty should guarantee respect. But reality does not operate on should. Reality operates on leverage. Machiavelli wrote something most people refuse to accept. A man who insists on being good in a world full of those who are not will eventually destroy himself. Not because he is unlucky, but because he misunderstands the terrain. A lamb walking into a den of wolves does not receive credit for its purity. It gets eaten. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Most human behavior is not driven by morality. It is driven by self-interest. When someone helps you, they are helping themselves in some way. Status, security, opportunity, or emotion. This realization does not make you bitter. It makes you aware loyalty is rarely permanent. It is a temporary alignment of interests. As long as your path benefits someone, they walk beside you. But the moment the wind changes, the agreement expires. The prince does not rely on virtue. He relies on necessity. Imagine a burning building. A good man hopes the firefighters arrive. A prince looks for the exit. He does not argue with the fire. He does not curse the flames. He studies them, respects them, and moves through the chaos without illusion. The moment you stop asking how the world should be and start seeing how it truly works, something changes. You stop being surprised by betrayal. You stop being confused by manipulation. You begin to see the pattern. If that realization just clicked in your mind, leave a single word in the comments. Awake. Not for me, But as a signal that you have started seeing the game, once you accept reality, a second lesson appears. People do not see who you truly are. They see what you appear to be. Your image, your posture, your tone, your silence. Human beings judge with their eyes long before they understand with their minds. This is why authenticity is often misunderstood. The modern world says, just be yourself. Reveal everything. Your fears, your insecurities, your weaknesses. But this advice is naive, because the moment you show every fracture, someone will learn where to strike. The prince understands something critical. Your private self and your public self must be different. Your private self is fragile, human, complex, but your public self must be controlled, stable, unshakable, because the world does not follow vulnerability, it follows confidence. Imagine a general before a battle. If he stands in front of his army and says, "I am afraid," the army collapses. But if he stands tall, calm, unmoved, the soldiers borrow his courage. This is the function of the mask. The mask creates stability, and stability creates power. Notice something. The most powerful person in the room is rarely the loudest. He does not explain himself. He does not rush his words. He speaks slowly. Sometimes he says nothing at all, because silence creates gravity, and gravity pulls attention. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. A ruler must appear merciful, honorable, faithful, and just, but inside his mind must remain flexible, capable of changing when reality demands it. Appear virtuous. Think strategically. This balance is the art of power. There are two ways to fight in this world: the way of men and the way of beasts. The first uses rules, agreements, systems, but the second uses force. And history shows rules are often not enough. So Machiavelli gave a warning. If you want power, you must learn to become two creatures: the lion and the fox. The lion represents raw power, dominance, presence, the ability to crush an enemy through strength alone. Sometimes subtlety is useless. Sometimes the situation demands force. A clear signal, a message that cannot be ignored. When a wolf tests your territory, the lion does not negotiate. It roars. But the lion has a weakness. It cannot see traps. Strength is blind. This is where the fox appears. The fox does not overpower. It observes. It calculates. It detects danger before it arrives. The fox survives through intelligence. If you are only the lion, you will be trapped by someone smarter. If you are only the fox, you will be crushed by someone stronger. Power requires both: strength and strategy, force and deception. The prince switches between them without hesitation. Most people have only one mode. Some are aggressive. They yell, they threaten. Others are passive. They gossip. They manipulate from the shadows. But the master has no default mode. He studies the situation and chooses which creature to become. Is the threat a trap? Then become the fox. Confuse them. Let them believe they are winning, and watch their own plan collapse. But if the threat is open, direct, and hostile, become the lion. Strike once, strike hard, and end the conflict completely. The greatest enemy of the prince is not his rivals, not the traitor, not the assassin. It is something far more dangerous. His own emotions: anger, fear, love, envy. These forces have destroyed more empires than any army ever could. Emotion is predictable. That is why it is dangerous. If someone can trigger your anger, they can control your reaction. If someone can trigger your fear, they can force your retreat. When emotion takes control, strategy disappears. Watch carefully. When someone loses emotional control, they lose power. The loudest person in the room is often the weakest. Because noise is usually a signal of fear, the prince trains a different response. When pressure rises, he slows down. When chaos appears, he becomes quieter. While others react, he observes. While others panic, he gathers information. Calm is not weakness. It is control. To think like a prince, you must observe your emotions as if they were weather. You feel the storm, but you are not the storm. You feel the rain, but you do not drown in it. Emotion is information, not instruction. Most people spend their lives trying to control the world. The prince starts somewhere else. He controls himself. Because once you master your reactions, no one can manipulate you. And the moment no one can manipulate you, you become dangerous. There is a belief almost everyone is taught as a child. Good is good, bad is bad, and the moral path is always clear. But power lives in a different reality. A reality where outcomes often matter more than intentions. Imagine a ruler who refuses to be cruel. He refuses war, refuses punishment, refuses harsh decisions. He wants to remain good. But his hesitation allows chaos to enter the gates. Thousands suffer. Cities burn. Was he truly good? Or was his kindness simply weakness in disguise? Now imagine the opposite. A ruler who acts decisively. One traitor is executed. Fear spreads, but so does order. Peace follows. Stability returns. Sometimes a small cruelty prevents a greater disaster. This is the burden of leadership. You will face decisions that feel wrong but are necessary. Ending a relationship. Removing someone from your circle. Cutting off a toxic influence. The kind person hesitates. The prince amputates the infection. But Machiavelli warned about something critical. There is a difference between being feared and being hated. Fear creates discipline. Hatred creates enemies. If people believe your actions follow a clear rule, they will accept even harsh consequences. Most people want the comfort of simple answers. Good, bad, right, wrong. But power exists in the gray, where difficult choices shape the future. If this perspective changed the way you see the world, let this idea travel. Pass it forward. Because the truth about power was never meant to stay hidden. There is a law few people understand. Value is created by scarcity. Gold is valuable because it is rare. Diamonds are valuable because they are limited. And the same rule applies to you. Most people make a fatal mistake. They are always available. They answer every message, accept every invitation, explain every decision. They pour their attention into the world like water from a broken pipe. And eventually, people stop valuing their presence. The prince understands something deeper. Presence creates familiarity, but absence creates mystery. When you are always in the room, people stop noticing you. But the moment you leave, something changes. The room feels different. Where did he go? What is he doing? Why did he leave? Your absence forces imagination to work. And imagination often builds a legend far larger than reality itself. In negotiation, the most powerful person is the one who can walk away. The moment you need the deal, you lose leverage. But the moment you can stand up and leave the table, power shifts instantly. But this power has a cost. Scarcity requires distance. Distance creates solitude. Most people cannot tolerate this silence. They need constant validation. But the prince is comfortable in the dark, because he knows the rarest coin is always the most valuable. Most people play life like a short game. They react to the moment, the insult today, the opportunity tomorrow, the problem right now. But the prince does not play this way. He plays the long game. The fool wants the reward today. The prince plants the tree that will bear fruit in 10 years. He invests in skills, in reputation, in alliances, in silence. Because power is rarely built in a single moment. Most people cannot tolerate slow progress. They quit when the reward does not appear quickly. But the prince understands something they do not. Great outcomes require boring consistency. Every small action is a brick. Every disciplined choice is another layer of the tower. Most people destroy their future for temporary comfort. The prince builds quietly, stone by stone, until one day the tower is impossible to ignore. Machiavelli wrote that fortune controls part of our lives, like a river flooding the land. But the wise ruler builds dams before the storm. Preparation turns chaos into opportunity. While others complain about the rain, the prince builds the dam. While others argue about fairness, the prince designs the system. Because in the end, power belongs to the one who thinks further than everyone else. There is a quiet truth most people never face. Society is a script. Roles are assigned. Worker, follower, spectator, consumer. Most people live their entire lives inside a role they never chose. If you do not design your life, someone else will. Corporations, governments, social expectations. The system does not need your freedom. It needs your compliance. Most people drift through life, like wood floating on water. Wherever the current goes, they follow. But the prince becomes the ship. He builds an engine. He installs a rudder. And when the storm comes, he still chooses the direction. Freedom is not given. It is engineered. Through discipline, through strategy, through awareness. Piece by piece, you build a system that protects your autonomy. But there is a cost. The crown is heavy. The air at the top is thin. Most people climb a little, feel the cold, and run back down to the warmth of the crowd. They choose comfort. They choose illusion. They choose the safety of the herd. But the prince accepts something different. Solitude, responsibility, and the quiet power of becoming the architect of his own life. At the end of this journey, there is a realization few people reach. Power does not begin with the world. It begins with identity. Who are you when no one is watching? Follower, victim, or architect? Most limits are not external. They are psychological. Stories repeated so often they become invisible. I can't. It's impossible. This is just how life is. But the prince questions everything. The past is a heavy suitcase. Many people carry it their entire lives. Old failures, old insults, old fears. But the prince travels light, because the future belongs to those who can move forward. Eventually, every serious man faces the same question. Do you want comfort or control? Comfort means safety, but it also means someone else designs your life. Control means responsibility, risk, and decisions no one else can make for you. Most people step away from the throne. The pressure is too heavy, the responsibility too real. But the prince understands something deeper. If you do not sit on the throne, someone else will rule your world. So the question is simple, not easy, but simple. Will you remain a character inside someone else's story, or will you step forward and begin writing your own? If you have followed this far, then you already know something most people never understand. The world is not simple. It is not fair. It is not designed to reward innocence. It rewards awareness, strategy, and control. Most people live inside illusions. They believe the loudest voice is the strongest. They believe kindness alone creates respect. They believe effort alone creates success. But reality is more complex than comforting stories. Once you see the game, everything changes. You see why people manipulate, why alliances shift, why power moves quietly, and why the calmest person in the room is often the most dangerous. But remember this: power is not domination. It is not cruelty. It is not ego. Real power is the ability to remain calm while others panic, to remain silent while others expose themselves, to remain focused while others chase noise. The prince does not conquer the world. He conquers his impulses, his fears, his distractions. Because once you control yourself, the world becomes far easier to navigate. And this is only the beginning. The mind is a battlefield. Power is a discipline. And the next lessons go even deeper. If this way of thinking resonates with you, stay close. Subscribe. Turn on the bell. Because the next lesson might change how you see everything.